Bon dia, buenos dias, and hello. Once again back running on this treadmill while we wait for sunny days. I think this is going to be a ramblings of a madman kind of episode, but something's been on my mind in terms of Vail ski resorts in Altera. I saw something yesterday that showed Vail Resorts stock price is basically the same it was 10 years ago, so you would have made no money. And it just goes to show you that their original idea, while great on paper, ended up essentially crushing the soul of the ski industry. And as a, ski enthusiast, I have some opinions. A few years ago, I wrote an article called Fuck Vail. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. What their idea was. The idea was good intention, but corporatism tends to have a way of ruining the things we love, hollowing out small ski towns, ruining the culture that made them great in the first place. And so we find ourselves in a spot where these mega resorts are charging $300+ for a day ticket, and it costs less money for a family to fly to Europe and go skiing than it does to take a trip out west. Now, the snowpack this season has been incredible in the east. It has been historically terrible for the west. Now, my first year back in New England, I can't be upset. I'm actually ecstatic because it's been a hell of a year to move back up into New England. And I bought the Epic Pass, and I went to a bunch of different resorts. Vermont had a great year. I had a great year. And I actually have to thank Epic Pass for that, because it gave me the opportunity to explore new mountains and try different terrain and not just be stuck to the closest ski hill near me. But the downside is, as this corporation moved in, they bought everything, they invested in resources, that's great. But it choked out local businesses, and it made everything so much more expensive to the fact that locals couldn't afford to even live there anymore. It catered to the ultra wealthy. And look, I'm not an eat the rich kind of person. I actually do believe in capitalistic principles. I think incentives drive innovation. And we would never have gotten bubble lifts and, heated seats on ski lifts to make our day more enjoyable. But was it worth paying for parking? Something I never had to do growing up on my local mountain. The hassle became extreme to go to these nicer resorts. And to be fair, I had never skied out west until arguably the peak of Vail Resorts. But something is lost when you allow anybody anywhere to go and take trips to any mountain anytime. Lines are overpacked. There's too many skiers with not enough resources. And you would think that Vail's strategy of charging up front and allowing more elasticity in the winter, because if it's a bad winter, they already made most of their sales up front, and so they're not so much season dependent. They still struggled this year. Everybody I know canceled ski trips or had a terrible time because there was just no snow out west. And look, private resorts, that wouldn't change anything if it was owned by nobody. But maybe, at least, the people that did go had a less crowded mountain for the shitty conditions. I think As Vail has declined, we find ourselves in an interesting spot and jumping forward point for the ski industry. Skiing has never been more popular than ever, but less and less kids have been learning to ski. And when you hollow out the younger generation and you can't introduce large amounts of people to the sport, you don't have a future. You increasingly have less and less people to enjoy your product. And sure, you can jack prices up infinitely, cater to that small percentage. That's not how I grew up skiing. It was $300, $400 for the season pass at my local mountain growing up. I got a lot of skiing in for a lot cheaper than what it costs now. I don't necessarily know what the right move is or if it would work. But my thoughts are, Vail needs to essentially become a pass platform. They need to divest from the ski areas that they have arguably ruined and focus on partnerships with individual mountain and ski communities. Revive the individualistic nature of skiing and bring back the character that made these small ski towns great. Enrich the lives of the citizens that actually live there year round. I grew up in a tourist area, and the one thing that I hated were tourists, even though our local economy depended on it. And we welcome tourists, but not at the expense of pushing out everybody who can live there or wants to live there for the full time. Because life isn't an Instagram story of your ski vacation. Life in the mountains is hard. Life in the mountains brings you the most amount of joy that you can possibly imagine. Being connected to nature, enjoying in the sports that aren't so competition focused. And despite having raced my whole life, I was very competition focused. That's why I'm running this marathon. But skiing does not have to be about competition. It's about getting out there and hanging out with friends. It's one of the only sports where if you go for a ski weekend, you don't have to compete against your friends. You can just go hang out and have fun with each other while doing the sport at whatever level suits you. And don't get me wrong, I like to ski with people who are closer to my ability level, so I'm not waiting for them all day. But I have gone on so many ski trips where I have been more than happy to wait all day for people who are just picking up the sport and trying to get better. Because this isn't a lose-lose scenario. It's not even a win-lose. I want you to experience the things that I can. I don't know if you've ever ridden down a mountain on a fresh powder day. Let's make it a bluebird powder day, just for the sake of the image. Nothing feels better in life than gliding through powder on a bluebird day. I want everybody to experience that. And if everybody experienced that, maybe people would be a little bit happier and less focused on the rat race. But look, there's a finite amount of snow. It is arguably a finite game. I don't know that it has to be. I think innovation can win, and we can figure it out. I think we will figure it out, because the sport means too much to me. The lifestyle it provided me, the skills it taught me, the perseverance of struggling through negative 25-degree days has taught me a lot. And you kind of got to put up with the bad times for the good. So here's hoping Vail figures it out. Here's hoping skiing becomes accessible to more people. It becomes widely available to all. Let's get some private mountains back into the fold. Let's allow people the freedom to explore the outdoors the way I did when I grew up. On top of that, let's get back to marathon training. This is my, I guess, 4th day running. I didn't film the first one. So 3rd day running with this project. I'm going longer today. Trying to do, again, not worried about pace. I'm really not worried about pace right now. It's about getting used to longer time on my feet and running. So we're going for at least an hour 15, maybe an hour 30, depending on how I feel. I'm down several pounds. Feel like I've been eating more, and I've been lifting. So I'm about to get in the best shape of my entire life throughout this project, because I'm not going to stop lifting, and all that extra calorie burned means I can just eat everything that I desire. But that's not even the point, because I want to eat healthier. I want to get better calories, better sources. Been tracking my nutrition. I'll try and figure out a way to fold that into these. It was 60 degrees yesterday, but I have brand new shoes, and so I don't really want to get them muddy yet, because it's still pretty wet out with all the snow and the sand that we threw out there. Sunny days are coming. Sunny days are coming.